Hey guys, this is Ryan. In this video, I'm going to be covering everything you need to know about Google Ads bid strategies so that you can select the best bid type for your campaign performance. Let's first list out the different types of PPC bidding strategies Google AdWords offers you. The first and fully manual bidding strategy is going to be manual CPC. CPC stands for cost per click. So the way that this functions is you set a max cost per click either on an ad group or a keyword, and this tells Google this is the maximum you're allowing the system to spend to get a click to your ad. Now, manual CPC also has the function to help increase by enhancing that CPC. So this is another bidding strategy which is a hybrid between manual and automated, and this will increase or decrease the bids on ad groups or keywords depending on if Google's system determines whether that user who made the search is more likely to either turn into a lead or more revenue for your business. So optimize for conversions is going to increase that for specific conversions that you set for the system. So this could be a phone lead, a text or a phone call, a form submission, a download, or even a certain time on your website. Whatever you set for the system as a conversion, it will optimize or increase bids or decrease bids depending on that. Or if you have some sort of linking into your Google AdWords system from a CRM or some sort of sales information, you can pull in revenue numbers and it will increase or decrease bids based off of what is most likely to produce the most revenue for your business. Next, we have maximize clicks, which is going to look to optimize the total amount of clicks that your campaigns are getting. And this is going to be based off of the total budget that you give your campaign. So if you do a daily budget of $20 per day, maximize clicks is going to look to get you as many possible relevant clicks around your keywords based off of the total searches made in that area, the general competition. So you're not going to set a maximize or a maximum CPC on your ad groups or keywords here. The system will do this for you since it's fully automated, and it will determine what to bid on each keyword and ad group to get you the most total clicks. You can also set a maximum cost per click here if you're afraid of spending too much. If you're in an industry such as most law and attorney type keywords, the cost per clicks can get even into the hundreds of dollars. So in those scenarios, you might want to set a max of like $100 just so the system doesn't get too crazy. But for the most part, I don't actually use this, and I would suggest just doing blank maximize clicks just because it's most simplistic if you are going to go with this. Next, we have target impression share, and first we got to understand what impression share is. So within a certain geographical location based off of certain keywords that you're targeting, there's only going to be a certain amount of search traffic. So there's maybe a couple hundred people per month that are searching for the services that you're promoting. And so there's a top limit to that. And if you got seen by every single one of those searches, so your ad was shown and they saw it on their screen, on their mobile device or desktop, then that counts as an impression. And if you got seen by every single one, that's 100% impression share. So what you could do is say, I want to be at least seen by 100% of the people searching in this area, or 80% or 50%. And of course, there's other different ways that you can set your ad location here. This is a little bit more complex, and there are niche circumstances in which you would use this, more of a branding purpose, so I wouldn't recommend this for most businesses. However, it's just good to know that it's there. Next up, we have maximize conversions. So this is simply going to be looking at what you set as a conversion: phone calls, form submissions, downloads, directions, text messages. All these could be labeled as a conversion in your account. And so Google's just going to simply look for what is producing the most of these conversions and then increase or decrease bids based off of that information. Maximize conversion value. So this is going to be most useful when you can pull revenue data back into Google AdWords from a CRM, but you can also set a default value for each one of your actions in your sales process. So you could pull in CRM information about when someone goes on a sales call and set a default value for that just based off of how much you make in revenue per customer and how much getting on a sales call is worth to you. So you could say a sales call is worth to me $200, and then you can set a default for that of $200. Maybe then you can backtrack to a lead. It takes 3 leads to get to a sales call, in which case it'd be 200 divided by 3, and you set that default value for it. So you can either have it dynamically pulling back into your system from a CRM, or you can just set default values for each step of the way. Next, we have target CPA. CPA stands for cost per action. An action in this case would just be a conversion, so whatever you label as a conversion, phone calls, form submissions, etc. And now instead of trying to maximize how many conversions you're trying to get, you're trying to maximize the amount that you spend for those conversions. So it's going to increase or decrease bids on keywords or ad groups based off of whether or not those keywords or ad groups are going to produce certain cost per conversion. Lastly, we have target ROAS. ROAS is ROAS, and it stands for return on ad spend. It's basically ROI. So this is going to be your total revenue divided by the cost. So it's going to be looking for keywords that are getting a lot out for a little in. So if you put a little bit of budget towards it and you're pulling in revenue numbers from your CRM or sales system, whatever, to Google AdWords, it's going to say, okay, this keyword's producing a ton of revenue for very little cost. Let's increase bids around that, decrease bids around the low performers. And so this feature right here is going to allow you to set a certain percentage. If you want 200% return or you want 300% return, it's going to try to optimize around that. So just to repeat real quick, the only strategy with a complete control over it is the manual CPC. That's completely manual. And then there's the middle ground, which is the manual enhanced. That's a hybrid between automated and manual. And then the rest of these, maximize clicks, target search impression share, maximize conversions, the rest of them, they're all fully automated. So you're not actually setting the maximum cost per click for those, and the system is doing it for you. So real quick, let's go over what does it mean for something to be automated. So what is actually occurring when these automated systems are increasing and decreasing bids? Okay, so what you're seeing right here is a mock campaign that I created in Google Sheets to help explain how automation is affecting your individual campaigns. So the first thing to note is that your bidding strategies are placed on the campaign level. So a automated bidding strategy is only going to affect that single campaign, the ad groups and the keywords within it. It's going to look at the budget that you set for that campaign and adjust the max CPC for each one of the ad groups and keywords to optimize for the certain metrics that you told the system to optimize for. A good way of explaining optimization strategies is simply to look at how actual person would go through and optimize an account, because an automation is really just taking human processes and turning those into automated machine-like behavior. So let's just assume we set all of the max CPCs at the same exact cost per click, and this is the data that we got in a single campaign. For now, we're just saying that we're doing this manually and we got this data. Now, if we were to set an automated bidding strategy such as maximize clicks, what the system is going to do is it's going to look at this data here and look for the ad groups as well as the keywords. So if you click within each one of these ad groups, there'll be keywords and the data will be split just like this. It will look at that level too, but it's going to look at the ad groups and keywords that are producing the most clicks, and it's going to look to allocate more budget towards these ad groups and keywords, so that you spend more of your $20 per day on those ad groups and keywords since they are producing the higher volume of clicks. So what that would look like is it could potentially increase the bids here, maybe not 64 but just $6, and maybe the ones that are producing the less clicks or are really expensive, it's just going to reduce total spend towards those and just reduce the actual max CPC for those. So it's increasing what's working, it's decreasing what's not, and then it's holding steady things that it's not sure of yet. So it's going to do this for every metric. So if you're doing target search impression share, instead of looking at the clicks, it's just going to look at the impression share, and it's going to try to allocate more of your daily budget towards that with bids. And it's going to do that both on the ad group and the keyword level. Same thing with maximize conversions, just the conversions, target CPA, cost per conversion, etc. For manual CPC, if you choose the enhance feature to increase conversions, then it's going to look at the conversions and increase or decrease bids based around that. Or it's going to enhance your manual bids by looking at the total conversion value here. Now, let's, for example, look at target return on ad spend. I want to explain something that occurs when you target certain metrics that are further down in your sales cycle. So target return on ad spend is taking into account all the different customers that came from this. And if we look at this and try to optimize for it, right away we're going to say this is getting you 2,200% return on ad spend, or 22.9. And you could say this is producing the best results, and if you are using target return on ad spend, then it's going to optimize around this ad group and the keywords that exist within it. However, the problem here is there's only 3 conversions, and it looks like maybe there's 1 or 2 actual sales that occurred in your business that led to this volume of revenue, in which case those certain customers could have been a fluke. It could have been a time of year, the time of week. It could just be a complete fluke that these customers produced such good return for you, just because there's not that many to work with here. So that's the case with all of these, to be honest with you. If you are trying to get extremely technical, then a sample size of 30 is really what you're looking for each metric to actually make accurate judgments for. So if you were to reduce spend on these here and just keep this one right away at this level of total amount of conversions, then you may be making a mistake just because the data is not really built out long enough. So that's the case when you are doing target return on ad spend, because it requires customers, which are going to come slower than impressions or clicks. With impressions and clicks, you're going to get more data faster. You're going to get more data points of these, so the system will be able to improve that much sooner. And the other thing to note too is when you target something sooner on in the process, you can also make mistakes, because let's say you are targeting based off of cost per conversion. You may be excluding this one right here, but even though it's low data, it is possible that these sorts of clients or customers coming from this ad group in particular are the highest value for your business, just in terms of total revenue. So if you are optimizing for earlier metrics, then you may miss out on total revenue for your business and actual optimization. So you got to find that balance between how fast you want to get certain results and how far you want to optimize. And a quick little showing of what this looks like is, let's say you're running a campaign for a month and you want to do target return on ad spend. The difficulty here is that you may only get 1 to 2 different customers per month, in which case you're only giving the system 1 to 2 different data points to look at, and the optimization isn't going to be able to find enough patterns in those people, because it's not going to have a significant sample size to work with. So the bigger the sample size is, so if you're getting a ton of customers, then yeah, you'll be able to optimize much sooner. But if you're like most businesses, you'll probably get a handful per month, and so it's just going to take a lot longer for that system to spot patterns. If you want to make a compromise and you're already integrating data from a CRM, what you could do is create little micro goals. So in order to get to a customer, you've had to make some sales calls, most likely, if you're in a certain industry, and it could take 3 sales calls to get a customer, in which case you could provide a default value for this stage of the sales process, and integrate that back in as a conversion, and do target return on ad spend. It's going to look at the value of this as well, and it's going to provide 3 data points for every 1 customer. You can take this even further, and as you are optimizing for conversions, it could take 2 conversions or leads for your business to actually get to a sales call, in which case you'll get 2 for every 1 sales call. And the further down you go, or the earlier on in the marketing process, so you could go all the way to clicks or impressions, the faster the system's going to improve. The later on, the better results you're going to get, but the longer it's going to take for you to see those results. Another real quick thing to note too is that in the early stages, if you are choosing target return on ad spend or even target CPA or maximize conversions, and you're not getting a lot of data points, it's not necessarily that you shouldn't use these. It's just that you're going to see a lot of volatility in the beginning, because the system has no data to go off of. So it's just going to be haphazardly guessing for bids, and then over time that volatility is going to converge and get more consistent. So since that was all theory, I do want to bring this down to a practical sense and give you something to take away from this, because you might still be saying, That's great and all, but I still don't know what to use for a bidding strategy. So since multiple different types of people are going to be watching this video, I'm going to talk about each scenario, and these actually will be overly simplistic in some cases, but I do want to give you a rule of thumb so that you can actually take something practical away from this. So in general, I prefer manual over automation all the time, especially when starting out an account, and especially with local service-based businesses. And this is personally because I'm in the account very often and I know what I'm doing when it comes to optimizing. So this is why if you are a consultant, a marketing consultant, or an agency, or you're a business owner who is willing to learn and actually like dig in and be active in the account, then I would suggest pretty much in all cases starting with manual CPC or enhanced CPC. I personally still start with manual CPC, not even enhanced. And then how I'll usually approach this is I build up data in the account using manual to the point where after like 10 months, 12 months, 24 months even with some industries, I'll reach like 80% optimization, 80% of what I can actually do in the accounts, and you start hitting diminishing returns, at which point you can switch over to something automated and let the system take it from there. And these automated strategies are going to look at the historical data that was built up in the account or the campaign. So if you build up hundreds of leads on a campaign using manual and then you switch over, then that switch will be much better for the automated strategy because it already has those patterns to go off of. And it might be able to spot things that you can't spot. Now, if you don't plan on being in an account too often and you don't really know what you're doing and you don't really want to figure it out, that's totally fine. You might be in that situation and you are a service-based business locally. Then the two that you would want to consider would be target CPA or maximize conversions. Keep in mind, once again, that with the amount of volume that you're getting with most local service-based businesses is that you'll probably get from 5 to 60 leads per month, depending on the service, the demand in the area, the how much you're willing to spend per day. The more you're willing to spend per day, the faster these are going to optimize. So really the higher budget you can go, the better these are going to perform in a short period of time. So understand when you use these, if you're at low volume, so you're getting like 5 leads a month or 10 leads a month because you're only putting up like $10 per day, then it's just going to take a very long time of volatility for these things to actually level out. Now, in order to decide between these two different ones, just think of your risk aversion. Most companies I find do fall under the target CPA range, so you're trying to limit how much you're spending per lead. So you're not a huge business, you can't compete with everybody in your area. You just want to get a relevantly affordable leads for your business, and in which case you might want to consider target CPA and then just use the estimated CPA that Google gives you based on the area and start with that. But if you're a business who is highly competitive right now, you've got your systems down, your sales are good, you know your numbers, and you know you can throw a lot of money at this, just do maximize conversions and eat up as much conversions in your area. I've actually worked with a few dentistries like this who they have a lot of money to play with and they simply just want to outbid everybody and get as many leads as possible because they know long term, no matter how much they're spending on these, they're going to get their money back and they're willing to go in the red to do so. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go in the red with this one, but that's the sort of mindset behind it. If you're more risk averse, go with target CPA. If you're willing to really just like compete, go with maximize conversions. Now the next one is mostly for like Ecomm and SaaS. You can do target return on ad spend. Now this also applies to local service-based businesses, but since Ecomm and SaaS, most of their sales are happening digitally, so online, they're easy to track and can actually be integrated back into Google AdWords system as transactions. Whereas service-based businesses, a lot of times there's offline conversions that are happening, so people are just calling your phones and you're just manually making a sale. Someone comes in and makes a sale, so that's not a digital sale, so it's hard to push that information back into Google AdWords. It can be done to some extent, and there is a workaround by just setting default values for each step of the phase and having a CRM that integrates. But for the most part, rule of thumb, I'm just saying for Ecomm and SaaS, focus on target return on ad spend. Once again, you can still target CPA and maximize conversions, but ultimately take advantage of the fact that you can measure all your sales pretty easily and push that back into Google AdWords. Now there's more for branding play, so if you're using target search impression share or maximize clicks, you could use these in various ways just to get seen. So maximize clicks, you can try to get as many people to your website around certain keywords so that you can tag those people and retarget off different platforms such as Facebook retargeting ads, social retargeting ads. Target search impression share, this is like pure branding play just so that your name is out there and people know that you're around. These are retargeting and branding plays, so for the most part I would keep them as so and not use these on some of your cold intent traffic search campaigns. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know if that was helpful. If you have any questions in the comment section below. Like the video, share it with others. Make sure to check the description below this video because I have links to a free ebook for how to sell PPC services. I've got links to my website, links to a Facebook group with other people running PPC ads. And until next time, guys, cheers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in more videos.